A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makurdi, Benue State. Today on the program, our focus is on President Bola Tinubu's nationwide broadcast yesterday. The president did address the nation yesterday following the nationwide protest which started on Thursday last week, and eventually Sunday, Mr. President did address the nation. They did address the concerns of the protesters and what Nigerians have been demanding for. Of course, the president's broadcast has generated varied reactions across Nigerians, and here in Benue State too, people have been analyzing this subject matter and talking about it. We shall isolate some talking points about the president's nationwide broadcast and feature a discussion on it this morning on Perspectives. I have been joined here in the studio by three panelists who will drive the conversation from the political, economic, and sundry issues which the president did raise in that broadcast yesterday. First is a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the Benue State University, Makurdi, Dr. Joseph Fefa. Welcome to Perspectives, Dr. Fefa.
Thank you, Nathaniel, and good morning, listeners.
I also have on the program a public affairs commentator and lecturer in the Department of Languages and Linguistics, also at the Benue State University, Makurdi, Dr. Gemanen Gyuse. Welcome to Agate Radio Studio, Dr. Gyuse.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel.
And joining us also is a politician and a commentator on social issues, David Mzer. Welcome to Perspectives, Mr. Mzer.
Thank you, Mr. Nathaniel.
I am Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to this Monday edition of Perspectives. And if this is your first time tuning into the program, be informed that it is audience participatory, broadcast from now to 11 a.m. And we allow you to call in and also lend your voice to the subject we are discussing at 10 a.m. The line through which you can participate on the program once it is 10 a.m. is 0814 335 9292 0814 335 9292. You may send us an SMS or a chat on WhatsApp to 0912 699 9404 0912 699 9404. You may also listen to Agate Radio by logging on to our website on www.agateradiotv.com to follow the program, as well as you can download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, a one-stop app that serves you to listen to the radio, watch the TV, as well as read the newspaper. Very simple to navigate once you download it. You can also listen to us via Radio Garden once you have it on any device at all. Follow all our social media pages on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. We are available on all these platforms to serve you, and the program is also streaming live there. Before we begin with the discussions, let's take a listen to some highlights of the president's broadcast yesterday. Please stay tuned, dear listener.
As the president of this country, I must ensure public order in line with the constitutional oath to protect the lives and property of every citizen. Our government will not stand idly by and allow a few political agenda to tear this nation apart. Under the circumstances, I hereby enjoin protesters and the organizers to suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue, which I have always acceded to at the slightest opportunity. Nigeria requires all hands on deck and need us all, regardless of age, party, religion, or other divides, to work together, reshaping our destiny as a nation. to those who have taken undue advantage of this situation to threaten any section of this country, the law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry or such threats in the Nigeria we seek to build. Our democracy, progressive right of every Nigerian are respected and protected. Our law enforcement agencies should continue to ensure full protection of life and properties of innocent citizens in a responsible manner. In the past 14 months, our government has made significant strides in rebuilding the foundation of our economy to carry us into a future of plenty and abundance. On the physical side, aggregate government revenue has more than doubled, hitting over 9 naira in the first half of 2024 compared to the first half of 2023 due to our efforts at blocking leakages into the people. Productivity is gradually increasing in the non-oil sector, reaching new levels and taking advantage of the opportunities to make ambience. My dear brothers and sisters, we have come this far, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% in the last 13 months. We have also cleared legitimate outstanding foreign exchange obligations of about 5 billion without any adverse impact on our. This has given us more financial freedom and room to spend more money on you, our citizens, to fund essential social services like education and healthcare. It has also led to our state and local government receiving highest allocation ever in our country's history from the Federation account. Also, more than 570 billion used to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens, while 600,000 nano businesses have benefited from our nano grants. An additional 400,000 more nano businesses are expected to benefit. Furthermore, 75,000 beneficiaries have processed to receive our 1 million micro and digit interest loans starting this month. We have also built 10 MSME hubs within the past year, created 240,000 jobs through them, and 5 more hubs are in progress, which will be ready by October this year. Payments of 1 billion each also have been made to us under our single-digit loan to boost manufacturing output and stimulate growth. I signed the national minimum wage into law last week, and the lowest earning worker will now earn at least 70,000 naira a month.
That's Mr. President Bola Tinubu's highlights of some major highlights of his speech yesterday, the broadcast that he gave to Nigerians following the nationwide protest. We have taken just some highlights. It's not the entire speech. Dr. Fefa, I'd like to begin with you. Listening to Mr. President in that broadcast yesterday and some highlights of it that we have taken, did it address the concerns of Nigerians who are protesting?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for also starting with me to air my views first. The protesters came out to protest, gave an ultimatum timelines for the protest, which is in the 5th day today. The president addressed the protesters and the nation in general yesterday when it was the 4th day. Now, these people are very clear. The people protesting say, end bad governance. Now, some people term it hunger protest. Now, as the discussion continues, we have more opportunity to make discussions on the matter. But from what the president said, from the beginning to the end, first, he, in his speech, watered down the idea of the protest in the first instance when he said that a few people who are politically motivated have attempted to take advantage of some processes within the country to either destroy or vandalize areas within the country, as it were. Now, I think he thinks that the protest as it is politically motivated, which I don't think that's right. And then, two, if you look at what he said from the beginning to the end, no single request of the protesters is addressed, which means that nothing had been done so far to quench the people's hunger, to quench the demand for reconstruction of the constitution. No presentation was made in line with streamlining and costing cost of governance by making the country a unicameral system of government. No comment was made about the quantum of money that which goes to ministers here and there. So he practically only read out. He had an opportunity to tell Nigerians what they had done the past 14 years. He never addressed not even a single demand of the protesters. And we continue the discussion. You will be made to know even more that so far he only came out to address people because maybe he was under pressure. People were saying that he has not come out to talk to people, come out to talk to Nigerians. So he came under pressure to make the kind of statement that he made. As a matter of fact, I don't think there was something very substantial. Apart from telling Nigerians what they had done the past 14 months, the protesters were not addressed.
Okay, Dr. Gyuse, let me have your thoughts. What you make of the president's broadcasts? Did he address the issue of hardship and end bad governance as protesters are demanding and Nigerians are also crying about hardship?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nathaniel Nongu. First and foremost, I would like to commence by saying that we come from a different perspective. I am a critic, and sometimes when I want to talk about certain things like this, I come from broader angle. So you just give me listening ears so that I would adumbrate on some of the things that I know about the president's speech. The president actually gave a speech that I would say was first and foremost polished. It was modest. The language was clear. But there were two basic things which I noticed in the president's speech. There were weaknesses and there were strengths. The strengths of the president, we will start from the strengths of the president's speech. The president actually recognized the demands of the protesters. In his speech, he did recognize the demands of the protesters. That is first. That means that he's aware that there is excruciating pains in the people. Secondly, the president also, was aware of the power of unity in the country. It's one of the strengths of his speech. And thirdly, one of the strengths is that he seemingly is committed to the democratic tenets. However, I think there were more weaknesses in the president's speech than the strengths. First and foremost, I would say that the president was actually vague. Why do I say he was vague? The protesters are actually so clear about their demands. They are talking about bad governance. They're talking about corruption. They're talking about overbloated, workforce. They're talking about hunger. They are talking about, administrative malfeasance. They are also talking about, excess expenditure and a lot of things. There were a lot of things that the protesters actually put on the table, but the president was not able to give concrete solutions to all those things. First and foremost, he was actually defensive. One of the weaknesses of the president was that he was defensive in his speech. I would say that the president actually embarked on an ego trip, because instead of actually addressing the yearnings and aspirations of the people, or the reasons for which the protesters are actually protesting on the street, he was there, simply defending what he has done so far in the last 14 months of his administration. The president also, failed to tackle things, headlong. He actually said that he wanted the processors to give him time for dialogue, but there was actually no practical or measurable steps or that he actually put in place for that kind of dialogue. I don't know how he wants the dialogue to be, whether he would want the protesters to call him one after the other to tell him of the things, or maybe he would organize a national conference and so on and so forth. I think the weaknesses and the strengths of the president, I saw more of weaknesses. Therefore, the president's speech was actually vacuous. It was jejune. It was, without substance. It actually, for me, was only a trigger for more anarchy in the country. Thank you.
Which is what we don't pray for. Mr. Mzer, you are a politician. Give us an understanding of what you make of the president's broadcast yesterday.
Yes, Mr. Nathaniel, everyone that listened to the president and broadcast yesterday, just like the other two speakers have said, they pointed out certain things from the press conference, from the broadcast, that were either positive or negative. That is the strength and the weaknesses. But then they have established two different perspectives to the broadcast. So I'm going to come with what is going to be slightly different from that. I think that's the beauty of this program. What the president did yesterday, any government, when faced with such a protest, first let's take into consideration the fact that the president acknowledged the fact that yes, there is hunger in the land. He also acknowledged the fact that yes, these people have a right to protest peacefully. I picked that from his speech. But then, when faced with that, just like Dr. Gyuse said, he then went on the defensive. Now that may not necessarily be on the defensive, but having acknowledged the fact that yet your aspirations, your protest is genuine, what you're saying it's in order. It is not as if I am ignorant of your pains. It's not as if I'm ignorant of what you are saying. It is because of what you are going through that I have been able to do this, do that. That is the angle my elder brother here refers to as being defensive. So he had already acknowledged the right of the protesters, their agitations, and then he went on to tell them what he has done, being aware that this is a challenge. However, this thing that has caused you pain, this is what we have gotten from it. Allocations to states has more than doubled. We have given out 9.1 trillion in the first quarter of 2014 as compared to what we had in 2023. We have given state governors 570 billion naira for to provide things that will cushion the effect what you're going through. So he then had to. It was all not really. He was not really out on a defensive mission per se, but he had acknowledged the rights of the protesters. He had acknowledged the fact that there was pain, there was hunger in the land, and he went on to say what he has done so far. And then he went a step further by pleading for what? Dialogue. So to me, those are away from what the first two speakers have said. That is what I got from the president's speech. It was not really all out defensive per se. It is not really that empty as some may paint it, but it was all calculated at what? Ensuring that these protesters go home. By the time I have a conflict, I have a problem, maybe you are owing me money, and then I come to you, give my money, you acknowledge the fact that you are owing me money, you have not been fair to me, and then you tell me what and what you have put in place to pay me back my money. If I see reasons with it, I am bound to, I may just withdraw, and I will say, okay, I understand, let me give you time. So I think that is what just happened yesterday, from my understanding.
All right. Dr. Fefa, I am with you now, and the president in paragraph 9 of his broadcast did mention that for decades our economy has remained anemic and taken a dip because of many misalignments that have stunted our growth. Just over a year, our dear country Nigeria reached a point where we couldn't afford to continue the use of temporary solutions to solve long-term problems for the sake of now and our unborn generation. I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove fuel subsidies and abolish multiple foreign exchange systems which had constituted a noose around the economic jugular of our nation and impeded our economic development and progress. In the context of what the president was saying, did he acknowledge that the economy is getting depressing, and what measures can be done to correct the depressed nature of the economy, which he pointed in that context as over a decade?
Thank you. From what the president said, he acknowledged that previously the economy, let me use his exact words, anemic. The economy lacked blood, so to say. Now, and that's over a decade. And when he came, he needed to take very difficult decisions to correct this anomaly. Now, he went further to say that we are gradually being brought back on track. The point is that, does he mean that the Nigerian economy had been depressed for the past 10 years, that's over a decade, or that over the past decade we have had negative GDP growth over time, or we had very high inflationary pressure over time that it has come to cushion, or that we had the lowest exports within the economy that it has moved up a little. That's the problem. You know, everybody will come with a gimmick as a leader to confuse unsuspecting Nigerian citizens, and particularly because we are predominantly unaware, and government has made that deliberate. I must tell you. That is why even from the protest you could see very clearly that predominantly in the north it was an action of uninformed people. They didn't come out to protest because they were paying themselves to protest. They were informed, go and protest. That is why you will see that in this country, because of this unawareness that government has created itself, there will be a protest to be conducted and people will come out to protest against the protester. That's never happened anywhere in the world. You can attest to that, Nathaniel, yourself. It has never happened anywhere. If you have any record of that thing anywhere in the world, you can bring it up. It's only in Nigeria. We have a peculiar situation that lies become so entrenched. So government reads out figures and statistics that will favor the government that is in place. When another government comes, they will still criticize this Tinubu's government that is now saying we are doing our best. What the economy wants is that for the past 14 months, you have been in government for 1 year. Nigerians should begin to see, after removal of subsidy, in themselves, you are supposed to be feeling in you whether blood is increasing, whether you are becoming anemic or you are not becoming anemic. And I can assure you that as the economy gets more blood, Nigerians are becoming more anemic. That is the cause of the protest. There is no blood. Nigerians can hardly breathe. There is no food anywhere. So I don't know where we have had refineries built after 1 year of saying that you have raised revenue, internally generated revenue in Nigeria up to 9.1 trillion in the first 6 months of the year. And there is no place where anybody has seen a structure of a refinery being built for Nigeria. And then you are saying you are giving blood to the economy. You have removed subsidy. It doesn't make sense. Then you say you are giving governors 570 billion naira without a template. Does it mean it is spent the way you want? There is no template that has been to any state governor that this money you receive, spend it so. Okay, they say governors receive an infrastructural development fund every month. How much of supervision has the president put in place to see what the Benue state governor does, the Kogi state governor does, and all other governors? Here we are lucky. But that is a discussion as we go further. But the point is that so far, subsidy removal has strangled further the economy of this country. And then you have gone to worsen. If it was elsewhere, the president will be willing to resign. Because once a budget is passed, it has become a law. When you violate the budget, there's something very wrong. The benchmark, I was in the studio here when the budget was passed, and we're here. That was January 1st. And I told you that the president had already benchmarked 750 naira to a dollar. Came back to say that this was not realistic, moved it to 800, 850. Today, the current exchange rate, the one that has been floated, is 1,600 naira. That was the close of yesterday, to a dollar. That is double the benchmark of the budget, which is clear aberration of the process. He should be worried. Why do you make policies that will further endanger the economy as it were? What do we produce to export that you float the dollar? How much of export do we have that you are floating there? So nothing had been put in place prior to these hard decisions that the president said were necessary, and he had to make them. Every country, many countries, of course, in the world, who have fossil fuels, subsidize. You don't give subsidy to faceless people. When we go down his speech, you see that he has cut out, as a result of these decisions, rent seeking. But I can assure you, rent seeking is by far more pronounced now, and we are suffering more for it. Even when it was only suspected that we are going to go into protest, the price of PMS rose from what we used to buy for 750, 770, 800 to 900 and 1,000 naira. The people who are selling now have not got any consignments to say that the cost has risen. They are seeking rent. What the president needs to do is to block leakages of corruption. He should be headlong on corruption. He has not so far demonstrated the fact that he wants to stop corruption in this country. You just give money to people and say, go and use as palliatives without a benchmark. Everybody will use it the way they want. Some will keep it, as many governors are still keeping it. There is no check. you have created a room for people to be by far more corrupt than the system had been. Corruption has become more tolerable at this point, and it's very annoying. We have not seen anywhere where people have gone out to say that you are selling price above this, and then you are taken to prison to that effect. Let us imbibe the Chinese culture of fight for corruption. At least, China is the largest, the most populated country in the world. We are the most populated in Africa. And to cater for our people, with the mineral resources that we have, which can take care of Nigerians, everybody will be happy. We have to have zero tolerance for corruption. If it is possible, kill, make capital punishment for corruption. Once somebody is found culpable, let him go that same way. That's what happens in China, and they are good for it. So we must have a purpose, and we must be very sincere to ourselves that this is wrong. Economy should not be politicized, not for any reason whatsoever.
All right, Dr. Gyuse, going further in the president's broadcast, specifically paragraph 11 of it, he mentioned that in the past 14 months, our government has made significant strides in rebuilding the foundation of our economy to carry us into a future of plenty and abundance. On the fiscal side, aggregate government revenue have more than doubled, hitting 9.9 trillion naira in the first half of 2024 compared to the first half of 2023, due to our efforts at blocking leakages, introducing automation, and mobilizing funding creatively without additional burden on the people. Productivity is gradually increasing in the non-oil sector, reaching new levels and taking advantage of the opportunities in the current economic ambience. Here is the president telling us the revenue generation profile of the country. Does that reflect on our economy and what the states are getting as revenue? President telling us it has risen in the past 14 months, going by the submissions made by your co-discussant, Dr. Fefa.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. As a matter of fact, let me thank Dr. Fefa so much for the wonderful submission. He has actually taken words out of my mouth. And I'm glad that he is an economist, and a good one for that matter. And he's here with me. We'll be adumbrating over the issues together. Actually, what I can make of the president's remark in that number nine is simply what we'll call, vacuous political rhetorics. Because, when you talk about blocking leakages or maybe trying to you have doubled the revenue and so on and so forth, how has that actually translated into the good living condition of an average Nigerian? Dr. Fefa rightly said that, the economy has actually been injected with some blood, but Nigerians are actually getting more and more anemic, and I totally agree with him. I would like to say that for the last 14 months, no Nigerian who is actually not fetching from the pool of the government treasury cannot sit comfortably and say that he or she is enjoying. We are actually being beaten, so that were forced upon us by the president. And that takes me back to one thing that I wanted to say about the president's omissions, serious omissions in his speech. The president made mention of a lot of things, but he omitted a very serious thing, which has actually been behind the anemic situation of the country, and that was corruption. How has the president, been able to stop corruption? We haven't seen any practical, measures taken towards that direction. Rather, he has created more room for corruption. You say that you have taken out, you have removed fuel subsidy. Of course, let me tell you that, Nathaniel, fuel subsidy or subsidy in general is actually something that is an obligation of the government, any government whatsoever on the planet Earth. Subsidy is simply a grant given by the federal government, to the people or to a business in order to lower, the price of goods and services. You cannot just take away subsidy without making practical, putting in place practical measures to assuage the conditions of people. Yesterday, I was discussing with somebody, and the person alluded to a very, practical example. He said, the president's subsidy removal, is actually a very wonderful thing. Yeah, if you remove fuel subsidy in order to inject funds in the economy, it's a good thing. But how did you remove this fuel subsidy? Imagine you as a doctor, you are there. You know what oxygen is. The oxygen we actually try to help people who don't get enough oxygen to breathe. It is actually a temporary measure, if you understand what I mean. But then, if oxygen is a temporary measure, just as subsidy was also a temporary measure, you as a doctor, when you come to actually take care of your patient, do you first and foremost remove that oxygen before trying to tackle the person's problem? The first thing you do is that you try as much as possible to, revive the person as much as you can before removing the oxygen. Is that not so? What am I trying to say? The president wouldn't have actually removed fuel subsidy on the first day of his assumption of it because he had not even read, the report from the other doctor that handed over the case to him. So how did he know that the temporary measure, which was fuel subsidy, was unimportant? He wouldn't have done that. Maybe he would have, even if he wanted to do, he would have been doing that in phases. Maybe you remove it, see how the economy will kick up, and then you roll out the second phase, see how the economy is moving, and then the third phase, and so on and so forth. Then gradually you take out the subsidy completely. No one is saying that you must subsidize on fuel. And of course, why was subsidy very, very bad to us? The negative effect of the fuel subsidy, for that matter, was because there was corruption. If there was no corruption, there wouldn't have been any need of removing the fuel subsidy for that in the first place. How has the president been able to tackle the corruption? Since the removal of fuel subsidy, I've not heard that one person was actually arrested for being responsible for the pains behind Nigerians' problems. We haven't seen that. And one thing the president actually removed or omitted that was so conspicuous in his broadcast was that there were no practical, no measurable, reforms or commitment to reforms. There are none. You said that you have given 570 billion naira to state governors. How do you want the state governors to spend the 570 billion naira given to them? There was no practical, measures put in place. No platform, no guidelines, nothing. Just go take it. If you like, go and eat it. If you like, share with your cronies. That was just the meaning. So to me, the president did not actually or has not yet shown any commitment to tackling our problem the way they are.
All right, Mr. Mzer. We'll take a deeper look, and this time on paragraph 13 of that same address by the president. He says, of all the measures that he mentioned in the earlier paragraphs 11 and 12, he went on to say, this has given us, maybe I should begin from paragraph 12. He mentioned, my dear brothers and sisters, we have come this far, coming from a place where our country spent 97% of all our revenue on debt service. We have been able to reduce that to 68% in the last 18 months. We have also cleared legitimate outstanding foreign exchange obligations of about $5 billion without any adverse impact on our programs. On paragraph 13, he says, this has given us more financial freedom and a room to spend more money on you, our citizens, to fund essential services like education and healthcare. It has also led to our state and local governments receiving the highest allocations ever in our country's history from the Federation account. Does it appear like the government of Nigeria is spending on social services like education and healthcare, like the president did mention, and the highest allocation states are getting, going by the president's word, does it resonate with the condition of living of Nigerians?
Yet, Mr. Nongu, the, on the issue of highest allocations in the history of this country, I think there is no Nigerian, dead or alive, who is going to contest that fact. That what states, what local government, states, and even the federal government is getting for the federation accounts in the last 1 year is the highest ever shared. Not even in the days of when we had Excel scroll account. You can't even equate it to that. That is not contestable at all. Now, whether this is reflecting in the life of an average Nigerian, I would say no, it is not. And that takes us to why is it so? The subsidy removal, which all of us, I think all of us seated here, condemned, we never supported it. I don't think anybody here did.
No.
Given the time it was removed and the manner
in which it was removed.
I think nobody here, I think even out there, just a few persons will agree with the removal. Yes, but then subsidy removal, we were hit by it and it came to us. Now, what was next? It gave rise to what? Huge revenues to the federation account. There's so much money. But now, how that money has failed to affect our lives, to translate our lives. The other two, Michael, because this morning talked about we quoted the president saying the economy is anemic. And then these monies have not been able to translate in our lives because it is shared to state governance and the local governments. The president told us how they have shared 570 billion. They call it livelihood support. So that is what the money is tied to. The template is they call it livelihood support. So the state governors should know what to implement, programs and policies to bring, if at all they were not given. Although I cannot say authoritatively, but it is termed livelihood support. So the state governors, whom these monies are given to, should know what to do to impact on their citizens. We have also heard of infrastructural support to states. And then the president said these monies have been given to education. Now you're going to ask ourselves, in the last 13 months, have we seen a new school built? We don't expect new schools because in some places they have enough schools, at least for primary and secondary. So we don't really expect everybody to go and building schools. But some should renovate classroom blocks, provide learning materials to schools. Have we seen that in any state? Have we seen that in states across the country? So the questions are this. These monies have not been able to transform our lives because the people whom these monies are given to, the governors have mismanaged it. Prior to this protest, the governor of Nasarawa State, General Sule, appeared on Channels TV and on a political and current affairs program, Politics Today. That was a day to the governor of the protest. He did say, he acknowledged the fact. He confessed that allocations to states have more than doubled. So he said for the hardship in the country, Nigerians should hold their governors responsible. That was a governor talking. It was not any of us seated there that said it. It is not anybody, not any student anywhere, not a protester anywhere, but a governor saying this money is actually given to them. On his part, he went on to state what he has been able to do. Even in the area of livelihood support, there's this scheme in Nasarawa where they said they were giving 6,000 in the past, and he said how he has increased it, how he has increased the amount he gives out to these people on a monthly basis. So he mentioned a whole lot of programs. But that's the governor saying. And then even in the course of the protest, there was a video circulated on social media of Governor Professor Zulum of Borno State, also agreeing with the submission of Engineer Sule that more monies are given to state governors now to cushion the effect of the subsidy occasioned by the subsidy removal. But all these are palliatives, temporary measures to a problem. These are just temporary, they are not permanent. We have seen that after subsidy was removed, the president gave money to state governors to buy buses. The part of it was supposed to be 5 billion. Part of it was supposed to be a loan. Why part of it was for them to use and then to do what they feel was necessary for their people. Rice was given. Food items were given to state governors. I don't know if my other brothers here got a share from it, but probably they are above the poorest of the poor. So I understand. So they didn't get a grade.
At least my neighbors didn't get two.
So you see, so it came down there. But then we also heard they have also in the last 2 weeks we have seen where fertilizer was given to states. I think about 40 trucks or so. Was a bag of rice, there were 40 trucks, and there was also fertilizer that we gave it to state governors to give to their people. I don't think we around here have felt that. But these things are coming, but the question we are still anemic because the people in whom these palliatives, in whom these monies are entrusted with, have not really gotten down to the problem. And but even the president acknowledged the buck stops at his table. He said it. So, but the Governor Esole has told us that for the hardship in the country, we should hold the governors responsible because they are getting more than double. But he said it before the president even said it. That's the governor talking. So yes, the buck ends at the table of the president, but then we have local government chairmen, we have state governors, whom are all part of it. After all, they are the beneficiaries of the subsidy removal. If there was any area where every Nigerian was feeling the impact of having a government, was subsidy payment. Because even if you give these governors 10 trillion every month, I'm telling you there are certain persons in Nigeria that will not feel the impact of government for the next 30 years. But every household, people go to market and buy salt. So somehow, the subsidy payment was affecting the price of salt, whether we agree or not. It is there. That affects everywhere. So as it was removed, and this money that were used to pay subsidy, which we said were giving it out to saboteurs or giving out to were paid to people, smugglers, and enable subsidizing for other countries, it's not been given to people, our leaders that were elected at different levels. So this hardship, the reason why we are still anemic is because the people whom the president has given this money to come and then spend on us have not really done justice to us. That is why we are where we are today. And that is why we won't have the protest in the first place. Because if these monies were going and our lives were being affected positively, I don't think anybody would have gone on the street. Nobody was invited. Some people just saw people protesting and they hit the street.
All right. Dear listener, if you are just tuning in, I'll come back to you shortly. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives. We are discussing the president nationwide. That's President Bola Tinubu's nationwide broadcast yesterday. And leading the discussion here in the studio, I have with me a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the Benue State University, Makurdi, Dr. Joseph Fefa. Also with us is a public affairs commentator and lecturer in the Department of Languages and Linguistics at the same university, Dr. Gemanen Gyuse, and a politician, David Mzer. We have them here in the studio as panelists. You can participate on the program shortly as we open the line for you to call in. The number is 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us at that time, we would like to know your full name and where you're calling in from. Then you make your submission very briefly and keep it very civil. Send us an SMS or a chat on WhatsApp to 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.iGetRadioTV.com to listen to us there, and you may as well download the iGet Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which will serve you to listen to the radio watch the television online as well as read our newspaper. You may follow our social media pages on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. We're available on all these platforms, and the program is also streaming live there. Dr. Fefa, just before we open the telephone line, paragraph 23 of the President's broadcast, apart from mentioning how the Federation allocation has doubled and governors and state governments are receiving higher amounts, he also mentioned in paragraph 23 of his broadcast that more than 570 billion naira has been released to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens, while 6,000 nano businesses have benefited from our nano grants. An additional 400,000 more nano businesses are expected to benefit. The president only stopped short of telling Nigerians that hold your governors accountable. What do you make of this? If all these monies are coming to governors and the hardship is still rising, what should be done in the immediate?
You see, I was going to discuss that shortly after the last speaker. You know, the problem we have in this country is that, as I've always said, we do not have regard for the rule of law, even in democracy. And that is the biggest Nigerian problem. Every leader, particularly at the level of president who emerges, wants to play a good one to ensure a second term. And that's the biggest problem we have been having all along. Please the governors, make them happy so that they can convert people to me to win a second term. That has been the problem. And another big problem is this nomenclature vulnerability that Nigerians have. What is livelihood support? If you ask the president, ask anybody, what do you mean by life? If you want to measure, if I give you money as president now, Nathaniel, or as governor of Benue State, and I say, okay, go and use this money as livelihood support, what would you spend the money on? What is livelihood support? It's not clear.
And the interesting aspect of it is Nigerians are only getting to hear about it now that people are protesting.
That's exactly the point I'm making, and I was going to do that too. On the 4th of July, the president approved 2 trillion to be injected in the Nigerian economy, according to him, to stimulate the economy. Now, that's 1 month after, a committee was actually constituted that was given a term of reference to take the economy out of the current situation that we are in the next 6 months, which means the committee has 5 months left. By now, we should have started feeling it. Now, this is what happened. 350 billion was allocated to health and social services, which he also reiterated in his own comment, that he has given more money to salvage health sector, educational sector, and other social services. Like Mzer said, have we seen any new school? Have we seen a resuscitation process for reactivation of public primary and secondary schools, which the government has personally destroyed, so that they can erect capital-based schools and take education away from the common man, create a situation that everybody is unaware and they use them the way they want? 350 billion to health and social services. July 4th. 500 billion to agriculture and food security. 500 billion to power and energy. 650 billion vaguely and I'm emphasizing, vaguely allocated to general business support. What do you mean by general business support? Then you create a committee and bring astute rent seekers, people who are so capitalist inclined in this country, and make them members of the committee and say, you are part of this committee, kickstart the economy, stimulate the economy in 6 months. And then you say 650 billion is general business support. What is general business support? Who is a member of the general business support? Who are you supporting? So the president has got too much money. I think it's Nigeria is going through a problem that we had gone through during the first oil boom when Gowon was head of state. When he came out publicly to say that the problem of Nigeria was not how to get the money, but how to spend it. I think President Tinubu is also having the problem of not how to get the money, but how to spend it. So he's just dishing out the money the way he wants to people that he doesn't care about the masses. Very clearly, he doesn't care. Otherwise, he should know that you should tag the money. If you want people to get food, name it food, and say that this should go to household A, household B, household C. So the people who should be direct beneficiaries should be known. The problem in Nigeria is that when you want to take 100 million people out of poverty, who are the poor? What kind of poverty? Are we absolutely poor? Is it relative poverty? Is it structural poverty? Is it transitional? So we do not have data for the people that are seeming beneficiaries of these programs that the president is bringing up. So when you say 570 billion given to governors, then it was a clear charge by the protesters. Instead of standing on the street, go back to your governors and occupy the government houses. That's what they're saying that we should do.
Exactly.
It's very clear. The message was very clear. He said he heard protesters loud and clear and he understood them. And also said this. I said, oh my God. What this means is that leave the streets of Abuja, leave the streets of Lagos, ordinary, go and occupy government houses of these people. In Benue, we are lucky we are seeing a few things that have been done. But elsewhere, where we go, you will be shocked. If these monies have come this way, then governors should be held absolutely accountable. But how can we ascertain? When you release money to people and you don't publish the money, and then you say, this is how much you have been giving. You know, you have given to governors. Elsewhere, when releases are made, you are supposed to show very clearly. It's a budget. It's not a hidden thing. Because you cannot be raising money from the blues, from the moon. So tell us how you are spending our budget. If you say that you have reduced expenditure on debt service from 97% of internet generated revenue to 63%, we should see it roll out. But Nigerians just have a way of just announcing figures just to pacify people and achieve political gain. That's all. And that's where we have found ourselves now. So even if the president has given 570 billion to governors, what is the template for the expenditure? So that you can say categorically later on that Sokoto did this, Benue did this, Kogi didn't do this, Cross River didn't do this. How can you judge them on the basis of the expenditure? So there's no template. Once it is spent the way you want, then a room has been created widely for rent seeking and further corruption.
All right, it's about time now for us to engage with those listening to us. We'll take a breather, and once we are back, we'll start the engagement. The line is already open and buzzing. Please stay tuned, dear listeners. Thank you very much, dear listener, for staying tuned. We will start engagement with our listener now. And if you call, let's know your name and where you're calling from. Then you make your submission. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you very much. I'm William calling from Otukbo.
Okay, I'm William. Good to have you. Which part of Otukbo are you calling from?
Zone HB Otukbo.
Okay, that's Otukbo Township, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead. I'm William.
Thank you very much. The only what I want you people to pass our message to the head of state is that he should stop.
The president. Hello, I'm
yes, sir.
The president.
Let him stop giving palliative out to state governors. It's not getting to the right people in the right place. The palliative giving, we hear that he used to give palliative in trucks, trailers, all that. This, we hear it in the radio, but it's not getting to the right people. So let him stop that. Let him use that money to reactivate our refinery. If our refinery reactivates,
hello, I'm William.
And our oil is coming, all these problems to be reduced. Let him stop giving palliative out. Let him use that money for our refinery. That's only what I want to tell her.
All right. Thank you very
much.
Thank you, Ame William, for your submission.
Thank you.
All right. Ame William says the idea of palliatives itself is not benefiting those it is meant for. So, Mr. President should stop giving palliatives, but focus attention on reactivating the refineries. Good morning.
Good morning, presenter.
Thank you for calling in on Perspectives.
I really want to appreciate the discussant in the studio. This is Engineer Augustine Eke.
All right, good to have you join us.
I'm happy that today you are having an economy.
Augustine Eke, where are you calling in from, please?
Okay, I'm calling from North Bank.
All right.
I'm really happy that you have an economist among your discussants today. And one thing I will always want to emphasize pertaining our current situation is issue of currency management. Everybody is focusing on this issue of removal of subsidy. But our real problem is currency management based on devaluation of the currency. Somebody just mentioned in the studio right now that it's like the government has excess money and they don't know how to use it. The reason is because they have